Dr. Natasha, welcome. Her GAPS nutrition protocol has been used successfully by hundreds of thousands of people around the world for treating chronic illnesses. Dr. Natasha's book, Gut and Psychology Syndrome, was translated over 16 different languages, including our own language, Romanian.
26.
26. This is an update. Very good. I got this from your site or one of your websites. Do I need to add something?
Okay, that's it. I can introduce myself if you want.
Yeah, as you please.
Yes, I can introduce myself.
Dr. Natasha Campbell, it's really an honor to finally speak with you. And just without further any introduction, please be so kind to introduce yourself for our community.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. My name is Natasha Campbell McBride. I'm the creator of the GAPS nutritional protocol. GAPS stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome and Gut and Physiology Syndrome, both abbreviate to the same GAPS in the English language. GAPS is a global phenomenon. Millions of people around the world use this highly effective protocol for healing from chronic illnesses. And there are two books that describe GAPS. One is called Gut and Psychology Syndrome. This book is translated into Romanian, has been translated into 26 languages. We've got more translations going on. And a second book called Gut and Physiology Syndrome, which is focusing on the physical illnesses in the human body, because the yellow book focuses on the brain and the blue book focuses on the rest of the body. And what GAPS is, what is a GAPS person? We now know that human body is a microbial community. There are more microbes in your body than there are human cells. And the biggest microbial community lives in your digestive system. It is the headquarters, the big ministry of all the microbial community in your body. And it is connected to all the other microbes. And you have microbes in your blood, in your heart, in your lungs, in your liver, in your joints, in the muscles, in the bones, in the brain. Everywhere there are microbes. They're in the majority and they're in charge of what's going on in your body. If you ask any microbiologist, what is the most powerful influence on a microbial community in nature? The answer will be simple: food. Food. Yep. You change food supply for microbes in a laboratory or in any other place, and everything changes within hours, because microbes multiply very fast. They produce lots of babies very, very fast. Certain microbes disappear, other microbes appear, and the whole microbial community changes depending on what food you gave them. Where do we put food in our bodies? Into the digestive system, of course. That is why the majority of our microbial community lives in the digestive system. It is called gut flora, highly organized. If you take your digestive system and put it flat, it will cover a tennis court. Some researchers say a football field. Anyway, in any event, it is a very large territory. And every square millimeter of that large territory is covered by microbial communities, by microbes. They produce biofilms, sticky substances, to create little homes for themselves. And all these sticky substances mix with each other, creating one big cover of microbial community living in its own biofilm, from your mouth all the way to the end of your digestive system. This microbial community takes part in appropriate digestion and absorption of food. So if you don't have a healthy microbial community, well-balanced, proper microbial community, you don't digest your food well and you don't absorb it well. You can be eating the best quality food in the world, the most expensive food. Gut flora is not healthy. You are not digesting that food well, and that food is not giving you much good. At the same time, what happens when a person's digestive system holds abnormal mixture of microbes, unhealthy mixture of microbes, they damage the integrity of the gut wall. So as a result, the food doesn't have a chance to be digested properly before it absorbs. The gut wall develops holes in it. It becomes like a sieve. Large holes develop in the gut wall. So food absorbs undigested. Then the immune system reacts to that food, attaches various cells, various complexes to it, creating very large molecules. Then these molecules, these bits of food with all the immune complexes around them, go around your body in the blood, and wherever they get to, they cause disease. They cause trouble. That's how people develop allergy to food and intolerances to food, reactions to food. And today, majority of people in the Western world, if you ask them, they will say that I'm reacting to milk, or I'm reacting to eggs, or I'm reacting to something else, to this, that, and the other, to peanuts, to nuts, to seeds, to something else, to gluten is very common reaction. The reason is that the food is not digesting well. It's absorbing undigested. Majority of people in this world have abnormal gut flora and abnormal microbiome everywhere else in the body. Why? Because of antibiotics. Antibiotics were discovered during the Second World War in the 40s, 1940s, but they really came out on the market in the 50s and 60s, and people started taking antibiotics for various infections, various illnesses. Every time you take an antibiotic, it kills if you're part of your microbial community in the body, not only in the digestive system, but everywhere else. Those microbes that got killed were controlling other microbes, because there was the microbial community can only function if it is harmonious, if it's balanced. So antibiotics destroy the balance in the microbial community. As a result, certain species overgrow. They become too big, too active, and from being perfectly benevolent and perfectly neutral microbes in the balanced community, they turn into pathogens. They turn into your enemies. Unfortunately, today, people are eating antibiotics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and in between, because majority of chemicals that our industrial agriculture uses are antibiotics in their nature. Glyphosate is one of the most commonly used chemicals around the world nowadays. This is a herbicide, which is usually sold under the brand name Roundup. It is a broad spectrum antibiotic. It kills a lot of microbes. It destroys the balance of microbial community in your body, creating chaos, creating imbalance. Nature functions on balance. Nature functions on harmony. Once you destroy harmony in your microbial community in the body, you create chaos, and disease is chaos. So we talked about the food absorbing undigested. When that microbial community in your gut becomes abnormal, chaotic, not only food starts absorbing undigested, these microbes then consume the food themselves and produce millions of poisonous chemicals. These poisons absorb, they get into your blood and they get distributed around your body. And wherever this poisonous river coming from your digestive system and going all over your body, wherever these poisons get you, they cause disease. If they get into your brain, they will cause mental illness. In children, they would cause a learning disability, various abnormalities in behavior, inability to learn, inability to develop, mentally develop. If it gets into your joints, you will get arthritis. If it gets into your lungs, you will get asthma or other lung disease. If it gets into your heart, you will get abnormal rhythm. Atrial fibrillation is a major side effect of this situation. And it's a very, very common condition nowadays. If it gets into your liver, it will cause liver disease. Skin, it will cause eczema, psoriasis, and various other skin problems. Wherever these poisons get you, they cause disease. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, thousands of years ago made a statement: all diseases begin in the gut. He was absolutely right. All diseases do begin in the gut. Every chronic disease, wherever it develops, whether it's in the brain, in the lungs, in the skin, or anywhere else in your body, the roots of that disease are in the digestive system. I have developed a GAPS nutritional protocol. The center of it is GAPS diet. What this protocol is designed to do is to normalize your microbial community in the body, to stop the chaos and reintroduce balance, harmony back into your microbial community. Once that happens, the microbial community brings everything to balance and to harmony in your body. Everything starts working normally again. And no matter how far away from the digestive system your disease might be, maybe you have multiple sclerosis or rheumatoid arthritis or asthma or eczema or something else, no matter how far away from the digestive system, symptoms start disappearing and the disease starts disappearing, because the roots of that disease were in that chaos in the microbial community in your digestive system. That's what GAPS nutritional protocol does for people. And it's described in both the yellow book and the blue book in great detail. The blue book is more recent. It came out in 2020, and it addresses all the physical conditions, the fatigue, the fibromyalgia, hormonal abnormalities, neurological abnormalities, allergies of any kind, arthritis of any kind, digestive abnormalities, and so on. So this is a long introduction to my work.
Good. We'll go deeper as this meeting follows into most of the situations that you, Dr. Natasha, described. So I had several illnesses, chronic illnesses, actually at a pretty young age, starting 20, 21 years old. At some point, I was at a doctor, a very good doctor, with a diagnosis like hiatal hernia. And he said, I need surgery at some point and it's uncurable. After a couple of years, I applied integrative medicine and real nutrition. And I was at this doctor again. And he said he didn't found any hiatal hernia. and said probably, he said he doesn't know what happened. Is this, Dr. Natasha, explainable, or how do you see it?
Absolutely. Remember what is the most powerful influence on every microbial community in nature? Food, which means because human body is a microbial community, food is the most powerful medicine for human beings, for any form of life on this planet, any animal, any creature, including human food. So when you get a chronic disease, the first thing you need to do is change your diet. And thankfully, we live in a world of abundant information. There are plenty of books written. There's plenty of information online for people. So change your diet immediately if you have any chronic disease. And you might be surprised to find that your disease disappears very quickly. I've stopped now being surprised by miracles. They're not miracles anymore for me. When I started working with autism in small children because that's what happened in my own family, and that's where it led. But as I was working with autistic children, I started realizing that their siblings are not very well either. They have hyperactivity, dyslexia, dyspraxia, asthma, eczema, diabetes type 1, various other illnesses. Their parents are not healthy either. Their parents are suffering from digestive disorders, chronic cystitis, migraines, chronic fatigue syndrome, and various other lack of memory, poor sleep, anxiety, bipolar disorder, mental and physical problems. So the whole family was suffering. And having accumulated experience with thousands and thousands of these families, I have realized that indeed every disease begins in the gut. The whole family has abnormal gut flora, and the parents have passed it to their children because that's what it is. That's the way Mother Nature designed us. The mother and the father pass their flora, their bodily microbiome, to their children. The mother starts passing it during pregnancy. As soon as the baby's body starts forming inside her womb, as soon as there is a digestive system in the baby's digestive system gets populated by microbes simply from the body of the mother. So the flora in the mother's body is absolutely vital. And then when the baby is being born and the baby is going through the birth canal, during birth, the baby swallows lots of microbes in the mother's birth canal, in the mother's vagina. Where does the microbial flora come from in the birth canal? From two places. One is the woman's digestive system, her own bowel. If she has abnormal gut flora, that flora will populate her vagina, her groin, and she will pass that flora to her baby. The second source is the father. If the father has abnormal gut flora, that abnormal flora will populate his groin and all organs in that area, and he shares that flora with the mother on a regular basis through sexual contact. So that's how Mother Nature designed it, so that both the mother and the father pass their flora to the child at the moment of birth. And what we find in this family is that the parents have abnormal flora themselves, and that's what they gave their children right from the beginning. That is why their children are ill, are sick. If it comes to autism, for example, it is the most severe learning disabilities in children. Almost 100% of these children, of modern autistic children, were born with a perfectly normal brain. These were perfectly normal babies, but they acquired abnormal gut flora from their mother and father from the beginning, and that abnormal flora poisoned the child, digests the food in its own way, converting it into millions of poisonous chemicals. At the same time, it damages the integrity of the gut wall, making it porous and leaky. Holes develop in the gut wall. All these poisons absorb and they get into the child's brain. A baby and a small child develops very rapidly, very fast. The brain develops very fast. And the child has to develop certain skills at a certain age, certain window of opportunity. And if at that window of opportunity the brain is clogged with toxicity, it cannot develop properly. So the child develops autism. Or if the mixture of toxins is different, the child develops hyperactivity, attention deficit disorder, dyslexia, dyspraxia, oppositional defiant disorder, another mental illness. And if this toxicity then gets somewhere else in the skin of the child will have eczema. If it'll get in the lungs of the child will have asthma. If it gets somewhere else in the child's body, the child will get something else. We have an epidemic of diabetes type 1 now in babies and small children, in toddlers. It's a growing epidemic all over the world. It's a very serious situation. What happens? These poisons coming out of the digestive system, they destroy the function of the pancreas in the child. And the pancreas stops producing insulin, and the child develops diabetes type 1. It's a big, big problem. What I realized as I was working with these families, that this situation is getting worse generation after generation. GAPS is getting worse. GAPS began after the Second World War in the 50s and 60s with the use of antibiotics. So grandparents who were born maybe before 40s, before the Second World War, in the 30s and 40s maybe, they got perfectly good healthy gut flora from their parents, which human beings passed from generation to generation for God knows how long on our planet. And then these people got some antibiotics, they damaged their gut flora a little bit with these antibiotics, and then they passed this slightly damaged flora to their children who were born maybe in 60s, 70s, maybe a bit earlier. Then these children grow up in a very different world.
Yep.
They grow up in a world where antibiotics are given to them throughout their childhood and youth for every cough and sneeze. And indeed, that's the situation. As soon as the child gets any cold, any kind of situation, antibiotic, another antibiotic all the time. Then girls in that generation got contraceptive pill when they were 15, 16, and they took contraceptives for quite a few years before they were ready to have their first child. Contraceptives have a devastating effect on the microbiome of the human body, on the gut flora of the person. Then this generation grew up in a time where junk food came onto the market, where industrial agriculture developed, and more agricultural chemicals are being used on the food, or the food was laced with these chemicals, most of which are antibiotics in their nature. Electromagnetic pollution came in, vaccinations, and all sorts of other things. So the parents had slightly damaged gut flora because of maybe one or two courses of antibiotics. But their children, by the time they're ready to start their own family, have a seriously damaged gut flora than it was in their parents. And that's the kind of gut flora they pass to their child at the moment of birth. And every year in the Western world, in particular, in developed industrialized world, this situation is getting worse and worse with every generation. We see that holistic doctors, we see that in our clinics, in our practices, that babies and children that we were helping even 5 years ago were a little bit stronger, a little bit healthy, far more damaged than babies today and children today. This is an avalanche coming upon humanity. And all of these illnesses that the children have, they're only descriptive diagnostic labels. They do not mean anything. The real diagnosis in these children, whether it's autism or ADHD or dyslexia or asthma or eczema or diabetes type 1 or anything else, the real disorder is gaps. That is the root cause of the problem. The flora, the microbial flora in the child's body is abnormal, damaged, it's chaotic, and it is destroying the body of the child. GAPS nutritional protocol fixes that. It brings back the harmony, the balance, it heals the gut, it seals the gut, it closes all those holes in the gut wall, so food stops absorbing undigested. As a result, food allergies and tolerances disappear gradually in a person. And that river of toxicity that was poisoning the brain and poisoning the pancreas and poisoning the rest of the body of the person gradually stops as the gut gets healed and sealed, and all these diseases melt away and they gradually disappear.
Now, this is information that for most doctors, it's revolutionary, or for them, totally unbelievable. And we'll talk about this, also my experience with a lot of doctors. But first of all, I want to ask you, Dr. Natasha, since in our country, most of us are Orthodox and we practice religious fasting, approximately some half a year, some 2-3 months per year, not consecutive, but all the year. And of course, most of us during the fast tend to eat processed food because there's not a lot of choices. How do you see this situation?
Well, during the fast, you're allowed to eat some dairy, aren't you? You're allowed to have
no eggs, no dairy, no meat, no fish.
No meat, nothing animal, and nothing of the animal origin. Well, in that case, you have to eat a lot of vegetables and cook everything at home. Not eat bread, not eat wheat, just cook everything at home. Overall, generally speaking, human beings need to cook their food at home from fresh ingredients, because everything processed is denatured and it is a perfect food for pathogens in your digestive system, for disease-causing pathogenic microbes. So these foods do not do you any favors whatsoever. In fact, they are the cause of every disease in the world. And these are the main 3 legs on which every disease stands: is flour, sugar, and vegetable oil.
Refined oil or
vegetable oil, all vegetable oils, all vegetable oils. Yeah, nobody should be having vegetable oils. We should all be cooking on animal fats. That's how human beings used to cook for millions of years on our planet, because we don't know how long we've lived on this planet. Different sources are giving us different information on that. We always cooked on pork fat, lamb fat, beef fat, goose fat, duck fat, butter, ghee. Nobody cooked on vegetable oils because they are difficult to produce without machinery and without big factories. And for majority of our existence on this planet, people didn't have big machinery and big factories. So people used where animal fat is very easy to get to melt out of pieces of meat. So, and these are the fats that are the healthiest for the human beings. They do not cause heart disease. They do not cause any problems in the human body at all. And these are the fats that everybody should be cooking on. All vegetable oils, whether it's sunflower oil, soya oil, canola oil, any other oil made out of plant matter, they all cause disease because they are mutilated molecules. Vegetables, all plants have many oils in them and fats in them, and they are polyunsaturated, which makes them very fragile. They are easily damaged, the fats which are in plants, they are easily damaged by light, by oxygen, by heat, by pressure, by chemicals. And that's exactly what our big factories are using. They're using heat and light and solvents and chemicals and pressure and all sorts of other things when they extract oils out of plants, out of beans, seeds, and other things. So these oils are chemically mutilated. They are damaged, they are poisons. Nobody should be cooking on vegetable oils. Nobody should be buying them. Nobody should be eating them. And do not buy foods which have been cooked with vegetable oils and which contain vegetable oils. Because these oils cause damage in the human body on the most fundamental basis, on a molecular basis of every organ, every tissue, everywhere. In fact, it's these vegetable oils that were causing the epidemic of the heart disease in America in the 30s and 40s, where the American government got interested and got concerned about the whole situation and asked the scientists to find out what actually causes this epidemic of heart disease. Before these vegetable oils appeared on the market in America, there was no heart disease. It was extremely rare. So rare that majority of medical textbooks didn't even describe it. It wasn't even in the book, this disease, because it simply didn't exist. Unless Crisco appeared. That's the first vegetable oil. And then other vegetable oils appeared. People started getting this disease. And of course, then one scientist in one little laboratory in Pennsylvania suggested, oh, maybe it's cholesterol. Maybe it's animal fats. He based it on a lie. He based it on a fraud. He created a fraudulent study. And based on that fraudulent study, he suggested this idea. It's called the diet heart hypothesis, that animal fats and cholesterol cause heart disease. Because there was no other idea at the time, the American government grabbed that idea and ran with it, and money started pouring in for research and so on. And of course, corporations in America immediately jumped on that opportunity and started promoting vegetable oils and promoting low-fat foods and all sorts of other things. And today, these industries are making trillions. Food industry is making trillions on this idea. Pharmaceutical industry is making trillions. Medical industry is making trillions. Western governments are making trillions. And yet, for the last 30, 40 years, scientists, real, true, honest scientists from all over the world produced hundreds and hundreds of studies to prove that animal fats and cholesterol do not cause heart disease. They reverse it and they prevent it and they even heal you from heart disease. And yet their voices are suppressed. These studies are not given to the population. The specialists see these studies. There's plenty of books now written. I've written one book on this subject. It's this one.
Yep.
Called Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, where I explain what actually causes heart disease. And this one has hundreds and hundreds of references. It's written in a simple language so people can understand it, but yet it's fully referenced for professionals and for scientists. So let me just tell you that animal fat does not cause heart disease. It reverses heart disease and heals you from it.